Welcome to video podcast number 20. I'm spoiling you guys. As you know, this is probably only the third time since I started doing video podcasts that I've done 2 video podcasts back to back, 2 days in a row. Yeah, I'm almost certain. Yeah, this is only the third time I've done that. This video podcast, I said I wasn't going to predict the length of them, but I can almost assure you this one is not going to be long. Matter of fact, some of you might want to even just skip this video podcast, to be truthful, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with like male-female relationship dynamics or attraction and seduction or anything like that. At least 2/3 of what I'm going to talk about is just about some business concepts and then apply that specifically to my books. Matter of fact, I don't even have any notes. Usually I have a little sheet of notes you'll see me looking down on. I usually print out these bullet point things that I want to talk about in my video podcast, but this one I'm just totally winging it because it's been on my mind for the last 24 hours, if not longer. But I'll start here. Somebody directed me to first, it's early in the morning, so that means it's time for, man, the lighting bad that way. Wait. Okay, this is called Rise. This is usually the number one flavor I drink early in the morning because it's similar to orange juice. It's orange. It's called Rise. So, yeah. And this is one of the earliest I've done a podcast. Usually I do my podcast in the middle of the day or in the evening. Excuse me. Okay, one of the things that provoked this particular video podcast, obviously, you know, ever since I came out with my initial book, Mo 1, a lot of people have had something to say about it, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, like, for example, other pickup artists, other dating coaches, seduction gurus. You know, of course, when they hear about it, they usually want to add their comments, criticisms, etc. about it. And it's no different in YouTube. I've seen different video podcasts where somebody offers a commentary on their thoughts on my Mo 1 principles and philosophies. And, you know, honestly, most of them are usually positive and complimentary. So I would say that the positive ones are definitely outnumber the negative ones. But I've had a few people take jabs at Mo 1. The most recent video one of my followers directed me to, I'm not going to say this YouTube host's name, because he seems like a young, cool brother. And in his defense, he did not really take any like jabs at me or any what I would call harsh criticisms of Mo 1. Matter of fact, he didn't even really talk about, to be truthful, Mo 1 too much. But here's what he did say, or I should say, if he didn't say it, he implied it. And I've had other people either say this or imply this. In his commentary about Mo 1, in a roundabout way, he tried to basically say Alan Roger Currie didn't create the game of seduction. He just put his own unique spin and brand on it, which I have no denial of that. I mean, honestly, who in the modern era can say that they created seduction when it was people being seduced in biblical days? I mean, come on. What pimp, dating coach, pickup artist, whoever can say that they created the game of dating, mating, and seduction? Who can say that? Literally, who can say that? Who in the last 100, 200, 300 years can say, I'm the one who created the concept of attracting women, seducing women, dating women, pimping women? Who can say that? So again, in defense of this YouTube podcast, it's not like he said it as a criticism or an insult, but he was just making general commentary that, for those followers of Alan Roger Currie who may think, he created something new and different and special. No, he didn't. The game has been around for years, decades, centuries. He just put his own unique spin and own unique brand on it. And my quick rebuttal or response to that is, of course I did. And I've never suggested otherwise. Like, I remember when I used to post on this message board based in London called the London Seduction Society, I think it was called. A lot of guys on that forum used to accuse me of that. They would say, hey, Alan, you act like you created the concept of honesty with women. Well, I'm here to tell you, buddy, you didn't. There were guys being honest with women before you ever came along with your mode 1 principles and philosophies. And I would be like, motherfucker, who said when did I ever say that I created the concept of honesty? That is like ridiculous to even think or suggest. Jesus, going back to the Bible again, Jesus Christ was probably arguably the most honest dude to ever walk the earth, at least according to the Christian Bible. I don't think there was anybody more straightforwardly honest with people in his manner of verbal expression than Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was hardcore, man. If you really read the Christian Bible, that dude didn't have no shame in his game when it came to speaking his mind. So obviously, that's ridiculous to even suggest that, hey, Alan Roger Currie is trying to say that he was the first one to... No. So, here's the first thing I want to talk about. And again, this has nothing to do with dating relationships or men dealing with women. This is just strictly business. I realize number one, a lot of you guys are young, and even more so, even some of the maybe older guys, some of you all might have never went to college. But for those of you who went to college, and more specifically, you studied business, and even more specifically, you studied marketing, or you went to graduate school, MBA school. I did 1 year of MBA school at Indiana University in Bloomington. So if you went to college, studied business, marketing, then you can skip the next 10, 15, 20 minutes of what I'm about to talk about, because this is going to be stuff you already know. So, honestly, like I said, you have my invitation to skip at least the first half of this video podcast. But see, here's the simple way I'm explaining to you like a fifth grader. There's not too many consumer products and consumer services and items that are wholly unique. Like in one previous video podcast, I used the example of hamburgers. There's a lot of fast food chains that sell hamburgers. No fast food chain owns a unique trademark on hamburgers. There's literally just dozens of fast food chains that sells hamburgers. What separates each fast food chain is their marketing and their branding. See, like when I was in MBA school, just like in undergrad, you have a major, and in MBA school, you have a concentration, which is essentially the same thing. But if your concentration is marketing, most of the emphasis of marketing is on branding. Branding. That's a big thing in corporate America in particular. Like there's different components to businesses. There's, operations, distribution, finances and accounting, customer service, But one of the biggest areas of any business that sells products and services is marketing. And again, more specifically, is branding. Like I remember when I was young, I read this article, and I don't remember the exact figures, but I just remember it was an article about Pepsi and Coca-Cola, which are the two biggest soda pop distributors. Man, the amount of money that they spend each year on marketing and branding is like astronomical. It was like, again, I don't remember the exact figure, but let's just say it was arguably higher than any other company that I could think of in America. Those two companies spent, now see, they both sell soda pops. They both sell colas, which are very similar to each other. What separates the two is their marketing and their branding. Pepsi has its brand of cola, which is known obviously as Pepsi. Coca-Cola has its own brand of cola, which is known as Coca-Cola. McDonald's has its own brand of hamburgers. Burger King has its own brand of hamburgers. Wendy's has its own brand of hamburgers. Jack in the Box has their own brand of hamburgers. Automobiles, you got Chevrolet that has its own brand. Mazda has its own brand. Nissan has its own brand. Porsche, BMW, Mercedes. All these dealerships, they sell cars, but they get their own unique brand. I remember the last 2 to 3 years of my Blog Talk Radio show, I had a lot of guests, mainly female guests. I can't think of too many male guests. But I mentioned this in my last few episodes before I stopped doing my show. A lot of female guests shied away from my show. Like in my first few years, whenever I invited a female guest, they would usually say, sure, I want to be on your show. Sure, I'll be a guest on your show. But in my last 2 to 3 years of my 9 seasons, a lot of women that I invited on my show would say, Alan, you seem like a great guy, and a part of me would love to be on your show, but I've listened to some of your past episodes, and they're very provocative. They would say, you use a lot of provocative and sexually explicit language, and I'm not sure how that plays into my brand. That might compromise my brand. And I respected that. You know, I might have been disappointed that they would, decline my invitation, but, almost everybody, whether it's a large corporation or it might be a guy or a woman who's running their own business, like me, people are very protective over their brands, man. I'm incredibly protective over my brand. Like, incredibly. Like, I've had friends say, Alan, you treat your brand like it's your child, like it's a child, a son, a daughter. I'm very protective over the Mode 1 brand. I don't like it when people distort my brand or describe it in a way that's not accurate or valid. Quite frankly, that pisses me the fuck off. I don't like when people, man, try to describe my brand thinking they know what it is, but it's not. But I'll get to that in a few minutes, specifically about my brand. But first, I just wanted to talk about branding, period. Kind of give you could say a little marketing 101 crash course. Yeah, man, if any of you all are aspiring entrepreneurs and businessmen, or you aspire to work in corporate America, there's a lot of companies that will recruit college graduates or particularly MBA school graduates to work at their company, to work in their department known as brand marketing. That's a big area. Like if you go to MBA school, some of your largest number of recruiters are people who are recruiting for brand marketing. Like I remember when I was in MBA school, I had an interview with Quaker Oats. As you know, Quaker Oats, they produce a lot of food items such as oatmeal. Now there's a lot of other companies that make oatmeal, but Quaker Oats is one of the most well-known distributors of oatmeal. And the reason why they're one of the most well-known, because they spent a lot of years cultivating their brand. That's what in the business marketplace, that's the only way you're going to separate yourself from other people who are selling the same product as you, or a similar product as you, or the same service, or a similar service as you. Is you got to separate yourself by your brand. You know, again, I already covered hamburgers, different brands, automobiles, cell phones. You know, a lot of companies make cell phones. You got iPhone, Apple, iPhone, Samsung produces smartphones. BlackBerry produces smartphones. Who else? Apple, Samsung, BlackBerry. I can't remember the other companies off the top of my head. Television sets, there's different brands. Samsung makes television sets. Zenith, I think, either does or used to. Sony. Computers. Dell makes computers. What was another company that makes computers? Apple, obviously. Apple makes computers. I could go on a list of different consumer products, items, and services. But again, what separates them is their brand. That means their own uniqueness in selling that product or service. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, it ain't too much new under the sun, you know, as far as products and services go. There might be some things that one company can say, I'm the only company who sells this product or this service. You know, I'm sure there's a handful, but for almost every product and service in the world, there's going to be at least minimum two different companies selling that product and selling that service. And again, the thing that separates them is their brand. So no, again, to reiterate, no, I've never suggested that I somehow created the concept of seduction, or I would even say more specifically, verbal seduction, which is my big emphasis. I mean, obviously, my inspiration, one of my inspirations for Mode 1 was watching this porn movie called Talk Dirty to Me. And the character in that movie, played by John Leslie, he played this womanizer named Jack. He was exhibiting verbal seduction skills. So obviously I didn't create it, because I borrowed it from him. Matter of fact, since I'm talking about him, let me use that as my second major point. I noticed that a lot of guys, particularly who are on YouTube, who call themselves a dating coach or seduction guru or whatever, they will always talk about they had this mentor. You know, like a lot of brothers will say, I had this mentor from the streets. An older guy who lived in the neighborhood was my mentor. Well, see, I'm going to tell you, man, I didn't have any game mentor. I didn't have any like uncle or older cousin or like, well, I have my older brother. He gave me what I would call some general dating advice coming up in middle school and high school. But as far as most of the stuff I talk about in my books related to my Mode 1 principles and philosophies, I didn't learn any of that from a mentor. The closest thing I had to a mentor, as most people know, is a fictional character in a porn movie. And again, that was John Leslie's character of Jack in Talk Dirty to Me. And a couple years later, what was that? I watched Talk Dirty to Me the summer of 1981 was when I watched Talk Dirty to Me, which was the summer before my freshman year in college. And then about roughly 2 years later, I think it was around August, September, October of 83 is when I watched Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. If I had to name the closest thing I had to a mentor particularly in the area of verbal seduction, it was John Leslie's character in those two movies, man. Because again, and I've repeated this a million times, so this is nothing new, but yeah, before I saw Talk Dirty to Me, man, I had no idea you could get a woman sexually aroused just by talking to her. Like, before I saw Talk Dirty to Me, I thought you had to kiss on a woman or finger a woman or somehow touch her body, caress her body in order to get her sexually aroused. I didn't know you could just use words to get a woman dripping wet until I saw Talk Dirty to Me the summer before my freshman year in college. When I saw John Leslie talking dirty to these women and getting them all hot and bothered, I was like, what? You can get women wet and ready to fuck just by talking to them? That was mind-blowing to me at that time. That was mind-blowing to me. That you could have a woman so horny, so aroused, that she's begging you to have sex with her just by talking to her. That blew my mind when I saw that. Actually, if you guys want to research those two movies, Talk Dirty to Me Part 2 is the better movie out of the two. I always talk about Talk Dirty to Me Part 1. Talk Dirty to Me Part 1 has probably the single best scene of the two best movies, which is when Jack seduces that doctor. But from start to finish, the better movie is Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. Matter of fact, I have a poster in my place right now of the original Talk Dirty to Me. I would put it in front of this webcam, but it's just too big. But yeah, I have a big poster, Talk Dirty to Me. But the second thing, other than picking up verbal seduction game from John Leslie, another thing I've repeated a zillion times is that it was those two movies that helped me solidify the concept that I refer to as the wholesome pretender and the erotic hypocrite. Because see, before I saw those two movies, I didn't know. See, I was like a lot of guys. Like, there's a lot of guys to this day, and this relates to my video podcast called the, hold on a second. See, this relates to my video podcast called The Myth of the Prudish and Monogamy-Oriented Good Girl, which I would say still to date is my most popular video podcast and the one that's provoked the most feedback. But see, here's how I was when I was young, like, let's say, high school. Definitely before I saw Talk Dirty to Me, Talk Dirty to Me Part 2. I, like a lot of guys, I thought women were in two mutually exclusive categories. I thought you had most women who were prudish, monogamy-oriented good girls, and then you had a smaller percentage of women that were kinky, promiscuous freaks. I basically looked at women in those two general categories. Then when I saw Talk Dirty to Me and Talk Dirty to Me Part 2, that's when I slowly but surely realized that those two groups, more often than not, intersect. They're not mutually exclusive. They intersect. And that's why I discovered the concept of sexual duplicity. Sexual duplicity. And what that simply means is that most women are not 100% good girls or 100% kinky freaks. Most women are a blend of both, depending on who they're talking to. And I don't want to rehash everything I already talked about in my video podcast, The Myth of the Prudish and Monogamy-Oriented Good Girl. But in a nutshell, that was my first, you could say, epiphany towards my Mode 1 concepts and philosophies and principles, was when I realized there are a lot of women, particularly when they're around beta males. See, when a woman's around a guy who she perceives as a financially generous beta male, or a guy who she knows is going to provide her with a high degree of non-sexual attention and companionship, she's never going to be quick to show that man her kinky or promiscuous side. Why would she? It's not to her benefit to do so. The only time women are going to really quickly show you their kinky and promiscuous side is when you give them a minimum of two impressions. One, when you give them the impression that you ain't going to spend no money on them. When you're not going to offer them any type of financial assistance, financial security, or financial support. That's number one. Number two is when you give them the impression that you're not willing to spend hardly any time with them non-sexually. Once you, like, going back to Talk Dirty to Me, one of my favorite lines from Talk Dirty to Me is when John Leslie's character Jack whispers into the female physician's ear, her left ear. He says, I bet a lot of guys would pay you big bucks to get in your pants. Big bucks. Then he pauses. Then he says, I wouldn't pay you shit. I literally stole that line from him. When I first started being my one, I used to use variations of that line with women. But that's the thing, man. That's what makes women show you their kinky, freaky side relatively quickly. Excuse me. We're always in a burping, man. What the fuck? Once you let women know straightforwardly and emphatically, hey, I ain't going to be no sugar daddy for you. I ain't going to be no financial provider for you. I mean, you might get a couple of medium quality dinners out of me or lunches out of me. But anything that requires large amounts of money, you ain't going to get that shit from me. Secondly, when you make it straightforwardly clear to women, hey, I ain't going to be spending a lot of time with you non-sexually. 80 to 90% of the time I'm going to be spending with you is just for fucking purposes. That's when women are going to be the most motivated to show you their kinky, freaky side quickly. But once you give a woman the impression that you're willing to be a financial provider type, and again, you're willing to spend a lot of hours per day and per week with them non-sexually, why are they going to show you their kinky, freaky side right off the rip? For what? That would be more to their disadvantage than their advantage. But anyway, again, I'm rehashing stuff I've already talked about in previous video podcasts. But back to my main emphasis on branding. Yes. Oh, so let me get into some stuff specifically with my brand, what I would call misconceptions about my brand and how people, like I was in this other YouTube podcast I mentioned where this guy was giving his commentary on me and my Mo One brand. I went to his comment section and there was at least 2, 3, 4 guys in there that were talking about Mo One as if they thought they knew what Mo One was about, but they really don't. I can always tell when people either haven't read my books at all or they've only half read them because they don't describe what Mo One is about. I start with number one. A lot of people say, all Mo One is about being honest with women. That's all it's about. It's just being honest with women. That ain't nothing new. That ain't nothing unique. There's a lot of guys that are honest with women. That's all he's promoting is just being honest with women. That's not 100% true. That's actually not true. Mo One is not just about honesty with women. And that lets me know that you haven't thoroughly read my books or listened to my audiobooks. Because if you were to carefully examine my 4 modes of behavior, at least not 1, not 2, but as many as 3 of my 4 modes center around honesty. So how you going to say Mo One is just about honesty? Mo One is not the only mode of the 4 that centers on honesty. 3 of my modes center around honesty. The only mode that actually doesn't center on honesty in any shape, form, or fashion is mode 3. Mode 3, that's the only mode out of the 4 that is not representative of honesty at all. But mode 1, mode 2, and to a lesser degree mode 3 are all about honesty. So for someone to say mode 1 is just synonymous with being honest, that's not true. Because mode 2 is synonymous with being honest. Mode 4 is synonymous with being honest. But they're different types of honesty. See, some people just look at honesty as honesty, but I don't. I look at different types of honesty. And again, 3 of my 4 modes cover honesty. For example, mode 1 is about being upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest with women about your sexual, romantic, and sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Period. That's what mode 1. That's the type of honesty that mode 1 represents. Being upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest with women about your romantic and sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Mode 2, it centers around honesty, but it centers around honesty that is more cautious, more delayed, more vague and ambiguous, and more polite and beat around the bush. That's what mode 2 is. So mode 2 is honest, but it's a totally different type of honesty. Again, mode 2 is when you're honest with women in, number 1, in a manner that's very delayed. In other words, you're not honest with them right off the rip. You talk with women for a while before your honesty comes out. Number 2 is very cautious and polite. You avoid being too provocative with women or too explicit with women. You know, you're honest like in a well-mannered, like a gentlemanly manner. You know, and in many ways you're very vague and ambiguous. You're not really specific and to the point. You're more beat around the bush. That's mode 2 honesty. And the final type of honesty, mode 4, and I notice a lot of guys confuse mode 1 with mode 4. I hate to generalize by race, but particularly a lot of brothers, man. I mean, I'm sure there's been some Caucasian guys that probably did it a few times, Asian guys, Hispanic guys, but a lot of brothers I know, maybe because I don't know, I pay attention to it more than brothers. A lot of brothers confuse mode 1 with mode 4. Even a lot of my own close friends and associates have done that. Because in my books, I call mode 4 the evil twin of mode 1. Because in a lot of ways they're very similar, but they're also very different. See, when you're mode 4, you're very direct and to the point, similar to mode 1. You might be very specific, similar to mode 1. You might be upfront, similar to mode 1. The main difference between mode 1 and mode 4 is the content of your honesty. The content. Again, mode 1 is more about desires, interests, and intentions. Desires, interests, and intentions. Mode 4 is more about harsh criticisms, strong opinions, insults, personal jabs, and just general undertones of anger, bitterness, resentment. So when you talk to somebody in a straightforward, honest manner, but you have the undertone of your verbal expression is full of anger, harsh criticism, like almost like you're attacking somebody, that's mode 4. That's not mode 1. And see, a lot of guys, when they exhibit that behavior, they think they're mode 1. Like, for example, a guy say, yeah, man, I was talking to this woman, I told her straightforwardly she was a fucking no-good bitch. Yeah, Alan, I was mode 1 with her, man. I told her straight up she was a bitch. That's not mode 1, bro. I hate to tell you, that's not mode 1. If you're straightforwardly telling a woman she's a no-good bitch, that's not mode 1, that's mode 4. Mode 1 doesn't get into criticisms and insults. Mode 1 is when you approach a woman and you let her know straightforwardly that you want to fuck her, that you want to spend time with her in a romantic or strictly sexual manner, period. That's mode 1. So if I approach a woman named Linda and I say, I find you very attractive and sexy, and in the near future I would love to exchange orgasms with you. See, that would be mode 1. Now if I approach that same woman and say, hey, what's your name? Linda? Yeah, I know you ain't nothing but a no good bitch. I know you ain't nothing but a fucking, cunt, materialistic gold digger. But hey, I want to put my dick in your mouth sometime in the next week or two. Now, see, some guy who uses that second approach might think, hey, yeah, I was mole 1 with her. No, you weren't. That was mole 4, dude. If you got to throw in criticisms, insults, personal jabs, that type of shit, particularly with, again, undertones of anger, bitterness, resentment, misogyny, that's not mole 1, man. That's mole 4. Like, I had a close friend. Well, I don't know if I should say friend because I'm not going to mention his name, but let's just say, and some people in my Facebook group, I mentioned this, I didn't mention the guy by name, but I had, you could say, at least a minor, if not a major, falling out with somebody I was cool with just in the last 24 hours. And I'm not going to go into lengthy detail about that, but I will make this one point related to it. One of the things I told this particular guy is that there's a lot of things he says that he thinks is representative of mole 1 that are actually representative of mole 4. And again, it's not just him. I've had other friends and close friends or general casual acquaintances and associates who've made that mistake. Anytime you frequently calling, you always taking expressing harsh criticisms of women's behavior while you talking to them, you insulting women while you talking to them, you trying to say things that make them feel bad about themselves while you talking to them, that's not mole 1, man. And a lot of you guys think that's mole 1. Even I can name at least one woman. There was this one woman, and if I said her name, most people would know her, at least black people would know this woman's name. She's on YouTube. And so it's not just men, but there's this woman, she used to be on Blog Talk Radio. Now she's a pretty controversial figure, at least among black brothers and sisters on YouTube. But me and her used to be cool. We're not so much cool anymore, but back around 2008, 2009, we used to be cool. And we even talked on the phone a handful of times. But I remember one time I was doing my Blog Talk Radio show, and her and somebody got into it in my chat room. And in the chat room, she said to me, Alan, how did you like that? You see how I let that guy have it? I was mole 1. And at the time, she said in the chat room, I let it go. But then like a few days later, we were on the phone and she reiterated it. She said, I know you was proud of me because, you see how I went off on that guy? I was mole 1. I said, actually, I almost said her name just there. I had to catch myself. But I told this sister, I said, no, actually, you weren't mole 1. She said, yes, I was. I was totally straightforward with my opinions on his foul-ass behavior. I laid him out. I let him know exactly what was on my mind. I said, yes, you did. You let him know exactly what, but that's not mole 1. I said, what you did was mole 4. And she said, how so? She said, no, actually, number 1, she didn't really know what mole 4 was, which let me know she hadn't read my book. She said, mole 4, okay, I don't know if I know about that mole. I think I know about mole 1 versus mole 2, but what's mole 4? And I explained it to her. Yeah, so again, as far as misconceptions on mole 1, first to reiterate, mole 1 is not by itself, is not just representative of honesty. 3 of my 4 moles relate to being honest with women. Again, mole 1 is when you're upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest with women about desires, interests, intentions, and maybe general thoughts. Desires, interests, and intentions, and maybe general thoughts. That's mole 1. Mole 2 is when you're honest in a very polite, cautious, well-mannered, delayed, vague, ambiguous, beat around the bush type manner. And mode 4 is when you're honest about harsh criticisms, insults, angry opinions, personal jabs, that sort of thing. Anything representative of anger, frustration, bitterness, resentment, misogyny, all that shit, that's misandry, that's mode 4. That's not mode 1. So again, to give two quick examples, I gave these examples on O'Shea Duke Jackson's show the last time he interviewed me. And he was cracking up laughing. I said, because I was telling him actually the difference between mode 1 and mode 4. I said mode 1 would be if I very in a smooth, seductive way said to a woman, oh, damn, I would love to see your lips on my dick. I would love to see your lips and tongue sucking my dick. Oh, I can't wait to see that shit. See, if I told a woman that straightforwardly, that's mode 1. Mode 4, I told O'Shea, like, I said, hey, bitch, come over here. Let me talk to you, bitch. Yeah, bitch, I want to slap my dick all on your face, you fucking bitch. And then I want to fuck your mouth like there's no tomorrow, you no good bitch. Hell yeah, and then I'm going to come in your mouth, you fucking bitch. See, again, a lot of brothers I know, they think that second variation is mode 1. That's not mode 1. That's mode 4. That is mode 4. Again, I lightheartedly refer to mode 4 as the evil twin to mode 1. Yeah, you have anger in your voice, or bitterness, or resentment, or harsh critical opinions that's included in your truthful content. You know, you want to take a jab at a woman's ego. That's mode 4, man. That ain't mode 1. Mode 1 is smooth and seductive. Confident, smooth, seductive, and straightforward. That's mode 1. If you're all angry and shit, acting like you pissed off at a woman, and to the point where you gotta refer to her as a bitch or some other disparaging name, you know, or not even just using the word bitch. Like, there's some women I deal with that I refer to them as my obedient good bitch. But again, there's no anger in my voice. Like, there's a lot of women who are my, what I call my BDSM submissives, who when I talk to them, I say, are you daddy's good obedient bitch? And they'll say, yes, daddy. I say, tell daddy you is obedient good bitch. Now, you see the way I'm saying bitch? There's no harshness in the tone. It's very smooth and seductive. I'll say, tell daddy you is a good obedient bitch. So it's not just the use of the word bitch, it's how you use it. See, again, that's mode 1, man. You gotta be a smooth motherfucker to call yourself mode 1. If you ain't smooth, don't call yourself mode 1. Make up another word to call yourself, but don't be distorting my brand. Mode 1 is about being smooth, motherfucker. It's about being a confident, straightforward, smooth, seductive motherfucker, man. That's mode 1. But if you, again, go back to the word bitch, if you gotta call a woman in a real harsh tone, hey, you bitch, fucking bitch, come over here, you bitch. All you women ain't nothing but bitches. Fuck all you bitches. Y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of no good, materialistic, cheating bitches. See, that shit, man, that ain't mode 1, man. There's a lot of guys on their podcast who do that, man. And I can't stand that, man. If you're criticizing women real harshly, don't mention my brand in that shit. Not too many guys done, but I've heard a few guys, they'll like lay women out and then they'll say, yeah, shout out to Ellen Currie. I was just mode 1 with these bitches. No, you weren't. You were mode 4, motherfucker. You were mode 4, man. Second misconception that some guy wrote in the comment section of this YouTube, where this guy was adding this commentary about mode 1. Some guy said that mode 1 is solely and specifically about just getting some pussy, getting laid as much as possible. I dare anybody to find a paragraph in my book where I say that. I dare you to. I dare you to. I challenge you to. Matter of fact, I would say just the opposite. If you read my original Mode 1 ebook and my original Mode 1 paperback, I want to say in either chapter 1, no later than chapter 2, I say getting laid is a fringe benefit and a byproduct of exhibiting Mode 1 behavior. I have never said that that's the sole and specific purpose or objective of Mode 1. So anybody who goes on Twitter and says that, Facebook and says that, or in the comment section of some YouTube video and says that, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Mode 1 is not solely and specifically about getting laid. That's a byproduct. I would almost compare it to like getting your body in shape and losing weight. If you improve your physique by eating right and exercising, will you attract more women and probably get more pussy? Yeah. There's a greater than 50% chance you will. But is that the specific objective of eating right and exercise? No. The specific objective is to have a healthy body so that you can prevent illnesses and ailments and just improve your physical appearance. That's the number one objective of eating right and exercise, is so you can have a more physically attractive physique. A byproduct of you losing weight and improving physique is going to be you having more pussy thrown your way. And it's the same with Mode 1. The two top objectives of Mode 1, well, I probably extended to three main objectives. The three main objectives of Mode 1 is, number one, first and foremost, is to overcome your fear of rejection. That's the number one primary objective of Mode 1, is for men to overcome their fear of rejection so that they will simply approach more women. Because number one, how are you going to connect with any woman if you're afraid of approaching her? What's generally known in the pickup artist community as approach anxiety. If you're scared to even talk to a woman, initiate a conversation with a woman, how do you expect to connect with her? Unless you're just some celebrity and you got women coming up to you, you're a professional athlete or something, and you don't have to approach women, they approach you first. Which is, on a side note, why George Clooney admitted in a Playboy interview why he wanted to become rich and famous, because he said he didn't want to approach women. He admitted he's scared of rejection. Ain't that something? A movie star as handsome as George Clooney, he admitted in a Playboy interview that he doesn't like being rejected by women. And yeah, he basically went on to say, he said over half the reason why he wanted to be a rich, famous celebrity is so that women would approach him first rather than him having to approach women. A lot of guys who are celebrities and athletes and guys in the public eye have that attitude. A lot of guys don't want to approach women, man. A lot of guys are dreadfully afraid to approach women. They're afraid to initiate a conversation with a woman that they don't know. So that's my first objective with Mode 1, is just to help guys overcome their approach anxiety. A close second to that would be, once you do initiate a conversation with a woman, to avoid what I call trivial small talk, and get right to the point. Because the second biggest thing guys do next to being afraid of approaching women, period, is there's a lot of guys who have the confidence to approach a woman and initiate a conversation with her, but then they proceed to talk about a whole bunch of trivial bullshit. That's generally a waste of your fucking time. So that's the second major objective of Mode 1, is to encourage guys to get to the fucking point, man. Don't be spending 15, 20 minutes talking about politics and the weather and your last 3 jobs that you enjoy. That ain't got shit to do with you getting in bed with that woman, and you know that in your mind, that ain't got shit to do with it. The reason why you talking to that woman is because you want to get in bed with her at some point. Period. You don't go out talking to women just for the sake of entertaining conversation. Just about every woman you talk to that you're physically attracted to and you find sexually appealing is because you ultimately want to get in bed with them. Whether it's within the context of a long-term monogamous relationship, a long-term non-monogamous, short-term monogamous, or short-term non-monogamous. You want to get in bed with that woman. And what Mode 1 says is get to the fucking point with that. And then the third objective of Mode 1 is to help men quickly and effectively identify women who are exhibiting what I refer to as incongruent behavior. Incongruent and manipulative behavior. What does it mean to be congruent versus incongruent? Well, I talk about this in Mo 1, so if you read the book or listen to the audiobook, you know this, but I'm going to give it to you. For those unfamiliar with those terms, congruent is when your actions, behavior matches up with your words. So if I tell you, hey man, I'm all about healthy eating and fitness. I'm all about healthy eating and fitness. And then after I say that to you, you see me eating fruit, vegetables, healthy food. You see me going to the gym on a regular basis. Then you would be able to say, okay, Alan's behavior is congruent with his words. He said he's about healthy eating and fitness, and his actions are backing that up. On the flip side, if I said to you, hey man, I'm about healthy eating and fitness. That's what I'm all about. That's what Alan Roger Currie is all about. And then an hour later, you see me eating a triple cheeseburger, a hot fudge sundae with whipped cream, donuts, and you never ever see me exercising or going to the gym, then you're going to scratch your head. You're going to be like, wait a minute. Alan Roger Currie said that he all about healthy eating and exercise, but I see him eating nothing but bullshit. And I never see him going to the gym. That would be representative of incongruent behavior. It means your behavior is incongruent. You saying one thing, but your behavior does another thing. And that's the third objective of Mode 1, man. See, like, my archetypes. Reciprocator, rejector, wholesome pretender / erotic hypocrite, and manipulative time waster. Reciprocators and rejectors, they exhibit congruent behavior. A reciprocator, she is going to verbally tell you she's interested in sharing your company, and her behavior is going to support that. Like I had a guy in my comment section yesterday, he said, there was this woman who told me she was interested in sharing my company, but then 2 or 3 days later, she flaked on me. See, that's incongruent behavior. She said one thing, but then she did another. See, a reciprocator is not going to do that. A reciprocator, if she tells you, I'm interested in sharing your company, and more specifically, I'm interested in sharing your company in a romantic or strictly sexual manner, her behavior is going to support that. Same with a rejector. If a rejector tells you she's not interested in you, everything about her actions and behavior is going to support that. There's nothing going to be inconsistent or contradictory about her behavior. So reciprocators and rejectors, those are my two archetypes that exhibit congruent behavior. On the flip side, women who are wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites, and women who are manipulative time wasters, they exhibit incongruent behavior. Their behavior is inconsistent and contradictory. For example, wholesome pretenders will verbally try to give you the impression that they're not interested in having sex with you, but in the long run, their actions and behavior are not going to support that. Because deep down, they do want to have sex with you, or at least potentially. So they're going to do a lot of things that are inconsistent and contradictory. Same with manipulative time wasters. Manipulative time wasters is going to always initially or temporarily give you the impression that they're interested in sharing your company in a romantic or sexual manner. But in the long run, their actions and behavior are going to prove that they really don't. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Damn, I didn't even mean to go this long, but at least I'll be less than an hour. But yeah, to give you the quick recap, about just branding in general, man. Any corporation, company, or individual entrepreneur who offers products, consumer items, and services has to develop their own unique brand and their own signature items. Like, again, I said this in a previous video podcast. Like, McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King all sell hamburgers. None of them have any unique monopoly on selling hamburgers, French fries, and drinks. But where they separate themselves, they each get their own unique brand, how they market their hamburgers, the names they give to their signature burgers. Again, McDonald's, their signature burger is the Big Mac, quarter pounder with cheese. Their branding, it primarily emphasizes how quickly you get your burger, how quickly you get it. Burger King, their signature burger is the Whopper. And their branding is that their burgers are flame broiled, grilled, like a barbecue grill flavor. Wendy's, their brand is that they use fresh beef. They don't use that frozen beef patty. They use fresh beef to cook the burgers. And I think their signature burger is Dave's double with cheese or Dave's single with cheese. So all three of them serve the same products, but they all got their unique branding, unique marketing. And I'm no different. There's other guys who give dating advice, who give attraction and seduction advice, who give advice on being honest with women, who give advice on whatever. But they got their brand and I got mine. It's that simple. You know, I've never proposed to be the creator of dating advice or the unique creator of attraction and seduction. I've never, ever suggested that. I got my own unique brand, which is Mode 1, the 4 modes of verbal communication. That's my main signature concept, is the 4 modes of verbal communication. That's my signature concept. So other guys can talk about honesty and give dating advice and seduction advice, but they can't use my 4 modes without infringing on my copyright and my trademark. They got to come up with their own brand, their own shit, their own terminology. My brand is my shit. Number 2 wrap up is that Mode 1 is not just simply about being honest with women, nor is it simply about getting laid and getting some pussy. Again, 3 of my 4 modes are about honesty. Mode 1 is one type of honesty. Mode 2 is another type of honesty. And even Mode 4 is another type of honesty. The only mode, again, that doesn't have anything to do with honesty is Mode 3. Mode 3 is when you exhibit behavior that's totally dishonest and disingenuous and insincere and misleading and manipulative and cowardly. That's Mode 3. It has nothing to do with honesty. But all the other 3 modes, to one degree or another, got something to do with honesty. And Mode 1 is not about solely and specifically about getting laid. That's a fringe benefit or byproduct of exhibiting Mode 1. So anyway, the hashtag is going to be another long one. I know a lot of you got my kick out of my one yesterday, Snickers bar in your head. This one is going to be hashtag not all honesty is Mode 1. Not all honesty is Mode 1. That's the hashtag. I'll talk at you.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice. How you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.